Good morning, my dear students. Hope all of you are well. And in my last video of your class, I discussed about the water, its physical properties, okay, and anomalous behavior, okay, and about the solubility, different types of solutions like saturated solution, unsaturated solution, supersaturated solution. And today I shall start from the factors, okay, of solubility. That means factors that influence the rate of dissolution. First one is the size of the particle. If we decrease the particle size, the surface area of the solute particles increases, and hence the particles get more contact with the solvent and the solubility of the solute increases. Example we can give that if you take sugar crystal, okay, and if you want to dissolve in water, it will take longer time. But if you powder the sugar crystals, okay, and then the dissolution process is very fast, okay, and when we are making powder, that means we are increasing the surface area. Next point is the contact. If the contact between the solute and solvent particles is increased, the rate of the dissolution increases. Example, we can tell that more sugars, okay, will be dissolved if we stirred the solution with the help of a spoon or stirrer, okay. Next, we will discuss the temperature. Solubility increases with increase in temperature if the dissolution process is endothermic, okay. However, the solubility decreases with increase in temperature if the dissolution process is endothermic. However, the solubility decreases with increase in temperature if the dissolution process is exothermic. Hope you can understand what I told. Okay. Next we will discuss the factor that is called pressure. It is written. Now, solubility of solids in liquids or liquids in liquids, okay, generally do not depend on the pressure. However, solubility of gas, okay, in liquids increases with increase in the pressure. You can think about the cold drinks bottle, thumbs up bottles, okay, and generally this is governed by one law that is called Henry's law, okay. Next we will discuss solubility curves. Solubility curve, okay, it is a one type of graph, okay, showing the variation in the solubility of a solute in a given solvent with temperature, and this is called that solubility curves or solubility graphs, okay. Here the temperature is plotted along x-axis. Suppose this one is x-axis and this one is y-axis. So along x-axis we are plotting the temperature, and along y-axis we are plotting the solubility. Okay. Now we will draw some salt solubility, okay, depending on temperature. First we will draw that in case of NaCl. NaCl will be like this, not so much steep, like this. So this is the solubility curve of sodium chloride. Solubility, what we are observing here, in case of sodium chloride, increases to small extent, not so much high, okay. But there is large increase in solubility if we write the solubility curve of potassium nitrate. Potassium nitrate will be like this. This is for potassium nitrate. Okay. So here sharp rise. Okay. We can think about that potassium chloride also. Okay. Potassium chloride will be like this. So in this case, that potassium chloride, potassium nitrate, lead nitrate. Okay. If we increase the temperature, what is happening? The solubility, okay, increases. Definitely this process is endothermic process, okay, and when we are increasing the temperature, the solubility increases, okay. But if we think about the calcium sulfate, in case of calcium sulfate, what will happen? This will decrease like this, okay. So definitely it is an exothermic process, okay, that is why it is decreasing. And next we will discuss the anomalous solubility. Solubility curves are continuous except in case of Glauber salt. Glauber salt formula is Na2SO4 dot 10H2, okay. So this is the formula of Glauber salt. Na2SO4 dot 10H2. So in this case, what will happen? If we grab this part, so here the solubility curve is not continuous. Okay. First, what will happen? There will be the rise. Okay, of this curve up to the temperature 32.8 degree. We will get like this. Okay, and this temperature is 32.8 degree, or some book it is in 32.4 degree. Okay, and then there will be decrease of the solubility with increase of temperature like this. Okay, so the solubility of Glauber salt first increases with rising temperature up to 32.8 degree centigrade, and then begins to decrease with increase in temperature above this temperature, that is 32.8 degree centigrade. Okay, so this happens because below 32.8 degree centigrade, its formula is Na2SO4 dot 10H2. So and dissolution of this thing is endothermic. Okay, so that is why it is favorable, and after 32.8 degree centigrade, it will become Na2SO4. Now in this case, the dissolution process, okay, is exothermic. That is why the solubility decreases with increasing temperature. Hope you can understand. So this Glauber salt, that anomalous solubility, okay, is very much important for your exam purpose. Generally questions will come from this part. So next we will discuss the application of the solubility curves. First we can tell that to find the solubility of a given compound at a particular temperature, and to compare the solubilities of different solutions, different solutes in a particular solvent at a given temperature. Okay. Next we can tell that to find the effect of cooling, okay, of hot solutions of different substances. And this solubility curves also helps in obtaining a pure salt by fractional crystallization. Next we will discuss the experiment to determine the solubility of a solid. So in this case, what you have to do? In this case, we have to take one dry, empty and clean, okay, china dish. First we have to wet that particular china dish. Then you have to pour 100 ml of clear saturated solution, okay, inside this dish. And then again you have to wet this solution plus that container, china dish. And you have to note down this weight. Now you have to take one Bunsen burner and you have to apply heat, okay, on this solution, that means through this China dish, okay, or you can use some sand bath also here, okay, until the solvent completely evaporates and leaving behind the residue. Next, cool the dish, okay, containing the residue in a desiccator, and again you have to wait. Now what will be the calculation? Okay, first, what we are doing, we are taking the mass of the China dish. Okay, so first you have to write that the mass of that China dish, that will be equal to, suppose, m1 gram. Then what we have to do? We have to take this saturated solution inside this China dish. So then that means this mass of China dish plus solution. Mass of China dish plus solution. That will be equal to m2 gram. Hope you can understand. Now, after evaporation, you are getting that only the solute, okay, in China dish or residue in China dish. So mass of China dish plus the residue, that will be equal to m3 gram. Now we have to find out the mass of solution. So what will be the mass of solution? Mass of solution will be that this weight m2 minus m1. So m2 is what? M2 is the mass of China dish plus solution, and this is only the m1 is the mass of China dish. So if we subtract m1 from m2, okay, we will get the mass of solution. And next, mass on solute. Mass of solute. So in case of mass of solute, you have to subtract this China dish, okay, from this m3. So you have to write m3 minus m1 gram. Hope you can understand. Next, what will be the mass of the solvent? Okay, so mass of solvent will be, okay, then mass of solution m2 minus m1 minus mass of solute, that is m3 minus m1, this gram. So that will be the mass of the solvent. Mass of the solvent. So from here we are getting that m2 minus m1 minus m3 plus m1 gram. This m1 will cut, you will get m2 minus m3 gram. Hope you can understand. Next we have to find out the solubility. Solubility we know, that will be the weight of the solute or mass of the solute divided by weight of the solvent. So what is the weight of the solute here? This one is the mass of the solute, that means m3 minus m1 divided by the weight of the solvent, that will be the mass of the, where is the solvent? This one, m2 minus m3 into 100. Okay, so this will be the solubility, okay, that is m3 minus m1 divided by m2 minus m3 into 100. So in this way we can easily calculate the solubility of a particular solute. Next, we shall discuss a new thing, okay, that is crystal. and crystallization. All of you know that crystal is a pure substance, okay? Sugar crystal, sodium chloride crystal, okay? Actually, crystal is a homogeneous solid of a particular definite geometry, okay? And it has symmetrically arranged smooth plane surfaces which meet, forming the sharp edges with a definite geometrical shape. Crystallization is a process by which, okay, crystals are obtained, okay, by cooling a saturated solution where impurity is present. Understand? But crystal is a almost highly pure substance. Hope you can understand. And different compounds have different crystal structures, okay, or different crystal shapes. Like we can tell NaCl, that is sodium chloride or common salt, its crystal structure is cubic or shape is cubic. Copper sulfate is rhombohedral, okay, or rhombohedric you can tell. Ferrous sulfate is octahedral, and potassium nitrate is prismatic, okay. Now in the laboratory there are different techniques by which you can prepare crystals. First one, we can do that by cooling a hot saturated solution slowly, or by slowly evaporating a saturated solution, or by cooling a fused mass. And another process is there, that is by sublimation, okay. Now today we shall discuss how to prepare of sodium chloride crystal. That experiment how will you do? So first you have to prepare a saturated solution of sodium chloride, okay, at a temperature 100 degrees centigrade. That is the boiling point of water, okay, and filter the solution, okay, through a filter paper, and collect the filtrate in a clean beaker. Then what we have to do, that the temperature of the filtrate should be down, okay, or falls to about 60 degrees centigrade. And then this beaker will be placed in a trough containing hot water. Here temperature will be also same, that is 60 degrees centigrade, okay. And then what we have to do, we have to prepare one seed crystal. We have to take one crystal, okay, of sodium chloride, then tie the cotton thread to a pencil, attach a tiny crystal of NaCl on other side of the cotton thread, okay, and these crystals acts as a seed crystal, okay, and suspend the seed crystals in the saturated solution and keep the apparatus undisturbed for more than one day. Then after this time you will observe a large crystal is formed around the seed crystals, okay. So what we are doing, so we are taking that saturated solution in a beaker, and here temperature is almost 60 degrees centigrade, and here we have taken one trough, here also temperature is 60 degrees centigrade, okay. Now here we are taking one pencil, and by a thread we are tying one seed crystal like this. This for seed crystal, okay, and you have to cool it for overnight. Then you will get a big crystals around the seed crystal, okay. In this way we can prepare crystals. And I am giving you one homework. Whatever is there in your home, you can take sugar, okay, make one saturated solution of sugar and try to prepare sugar crystal. Or in your home sodium chloride is available in huge amount, or you can purchase copper sulfate, but copper sulfate is very much poisonous. You have to be very much careful. You can prepare copper sulfate crystal, and after preparing this crystal, you can show me, okay, that the crystal in live classes. Okay, that is your homework. That the formation of different types of crystals. Okay, whatever substance you can take. Okay, it may be ionic compound, it may be covalent compound. You try to make some crystals. Okay. Now, what are the precautions of this process? So first, there should not be any dust. So avoid exposure to dust particles. Okay, or crystals will form around them as well. That means if you take some cloth, okay, and if you just cover it above the beaker, then dust particle cannot enter. Okay, and do not allow the saturated solution to cool very rapidly. Actually, crystallization is a slow process. Their arrangement of atoms will be there in a fixed position, and it will take time. So don't allow the saturated solution to cool very fast. Otherwise, you will get some amorphous compound, not crystal. And the seed crystals, okay, what we are using, okay, these seed crystals we are just suspending through a thread, okay, inside this solution. It should not touch the side of the beaker. Otherwise, what will happen that the crystal will accumulate, okay, on the surface of the beaker. Then it will be very difficult to collect this thing. Okay, so better you just hang this stem, okay, of the seed crystal just in the middle of the saturated solution. Next, we will discuss another new topic, that is the hydrated substance and water of crystallization. Hydrated substance and water of crystallization. When we are preparing these crystals, that means during crystallization process, there are some compounds, okay, they unite with certain fixed number of water molecules, and this definite number of water molecules held by a single molecule of a solid with the help of loose chemical bonds like hydrogen bond, okay, and this is called water of crystallization. Sometimes there may be formation of coordinate bond, okay, like in copper sulfate there is formation of 4 coordinate bond, and another water molecule is forming that hydrogen bond with the sulfate radical. Hope you can understand. Now these substances, as water is present in their crystals, okay, so they are called hydrated substance. Example we can give that washing soda. Washing soda formula is Na2CO3 dot 10H2. You can think about the blue vitriol, that is CuSO4 dot 5H2. So these are the water of crystallizations, and the type of substance are called that hydrated substances. We can think about Epsom salt, that formula will be MgSO4 dot 7H2. We can think about the more salt, potash alum, Glauber salt. Glauber salt formula is sodium sulfate 10H2. You can think about the green vitriol, that is ferrous sulfate dot 7H2. White vitriol, zinc sulfate dot 7H2O, plaster of Paris, calcium sulfate half H2O, gypsum CaSO4 dot twice H2O, borax Na2B4O7 dot 10H2O. So these are the examples of hydrated substance, and in these substances that water of crystallization is present. Now what will be the effect of heat on the following hydrated salts? So if you apply heat, what will happen? Definitely this water of crystallization, okay, that means this water will go to the gaseous state, okay, and definitely there will be some color change, okay, of that particular compound. You can think about that hydrated copper sulfate. If you apply heat, that blue vitriol, definitely that water of crystallization, okay, that means that 5H2 will go to the gaseous state and you will get anhydrous copper sulfate, and definitely there will be some change. Blue vitriol or copper sulfate is blue in color, that will change into white amorphous powder, okay, of copper sulfate. So color changes from blue to white, as well as copper sulfate 5H2 is a crystal, but CuSO4 anhydrous, okay, that is amorphous, okay. Again, if you add some amount of water to this copper sulfate, again you will get back this blue color, okay. Now if you take some green vitriol and if you apply heat, then what will happen? Definitely the water of crystallization, okay, that means 7 water will be removed, okay, from this crystal, and you will get, and if you heat this green vitriol strongly, so first there will be the color change from green to white, okay. Then if you heat strongly, definitely there will be decomposition of this FeSO4 to form that brown residue, okay, and along with the evolution of sulfur dioxide and sulfur trioxide gas. Hope you can understand. So in other cases also, okay, you will get anhydrous compound whenever you will apply this type of hydrated substances, okay. Next we will discuss the determination of water of crystallization. Determination of water of crystallization. Okay. Now here you think that weight of the crystal at room temperature. Okay, suppose you are taking some amount of crystal, so weight of the hydrated crystal at room temperature, that is X gram. Now what you are doing, you are applying heat, okay, at 101 degree centigrade. So the residue weight after heating, that will be Y gram, and this residue will be completely anhydrous. So then weight of water will be X minus Y gram. Hope you can understand what I am telling. Now X gram crystal, that means hydrated crystal, contains X minus Y gram water, okay. So then what will be the percentage of water crystallization? So then this percentage of water of crystallization that will be, the amount of water is X minus Y and the weight of the hydrated crystal is X into 100%. Okay, so in this way you can easily determine the percentage, okay, determination of the percentage of water of crystallization. Here you can write the percentage of water of crystallization, okay. So from this thing, different types of numericals may come, as well as another formula we have discussed today, that is the how to experimentally find out the solubility of a particular compound, okay. So from there also we have to practice different types of numerical. Many numericals are there, okay. After completing this chapter, okay, we will discuss the numerical also here, okay. So first you try to understand this formula, okay. Then the solvation of this numerical, okay. That means solution of this numerical will be very much easier, okay, for you. So today up to this, until if you have any type of questions or any type of queries, okay, you can send me through your school website subject query button, or in live class you can ask me. Okay, there I can also clear your doubt. Okay, so next day we'll discuss different types of things. Okay, like efflorescence, hygroscopic material, different properties. Okay, of these different types of salt. So today up to this, thank you.